wings of Atmanirbhar Bharat, the air warriors soar high to touch the sky with glory. Since our inception, the Indian Air Force has not just defended a nation, it has redefined courage. From the skies in Bangladesh,
destroy or capture the Pakistani Army of Occupation and liberate Bangladesh.
the triumph over Kargil. Every mission has carved our story into the annals of history, not with words, but with the roar of our jets and precision of our heroes. The past is our foundation, the future is our frontier. In the Indian Air Force, competence is not just an exception, it is a requirement. Every airman is forged in fire, sharpened by the relentless pursuit of perfection. From the skies of Exercise Garuda to the intense collaboration of Exercise Indradhanush, we fly shoulder to shoulder with the world's best. Precision, discipline, and skill, these define us. In every mission, we rise with a singular goal: perfection. Strength.
I would request all the esteemed guests to kindly switch off their mobiles or put it on silent mode. Slide changer है वहाँ पे। Navachar Utkarshatam Bhavishyam, meaning innovation is the path to better future. On behalf of Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh, Param Vishisht Seva Medal, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Chief of the Air Staff, I, Group Captain Animesh Bhargav,
and I, Squadron Leader Shweta Priya,
welcome you all to the Indian Air Force seminar. Without any further ado, let me acquaint you with the sequence of today's events. In a few moments from now, we shall have an introduction to today's theme, Manned Unmanned Teaming, MUMTI, from concept to targeting, by Air Marshal Tejinder Singh, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Vayu Sena Medal, Deputy Chief of the Air Staff. Thereafter, we will have a panel discussion on the theme, chaired and moderated by former Chief of the Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhaduria, Param Vishisht Seva Medal, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Vayu Sena Medal, retired. The panel includes subject matter experts from the fields of aerospace design, testing and certification, as well as industry.
Post the panel discussion, we will move on to the second event for the afternoon, for which we have the privilege of hosting Honorable Raksha Rajya Mantri Shri Sanjay Sethji as the chief guest. Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh, Chief of the Air Staff, and Secretary Defence Production MOD, Shri Sanjeev Kumar, IAS, will also grace the occasion. The event will witness declaration of results for Meher Baba 2 competition, launch of Meher Baba 3 competition, launch of Vayu with Digital Portal, and the release of IAF Compendium of Challenges and Opportunities for the Indian Industry by the Honorable Raksha Rajya Mantri.
May I now request Air Marshal Tejinder Singh, Deputy Chief of the Air Staff, to please enlighten the audience and deliver the theme address.
Former Chiefs, Air Chief Marshal Major, Air Chief Marshal Bhaduria, Air Marshal Chopra, distinguished guests and friends. First of all, I would like to thank you all for being here, and especially thank Air Chief Marshal Bhaduria for consenting to chair this very important topic session today. In the last couple of years, there has been a lot of talk of unmanned platforms holding the sway in the battle space and perhaps replacing the manned fighter. I think a more pragmatic and realizable solution lies in harnessing the potential or the ubiquity of the manned fighter, which will, in our minds, here to stay for much foreseeable future, as well as, along with it, harness the potential that unmanned platforms provide. So this topic of this seminar is in sync with the theme of Navachar Utkrishtam Bhavishyam. Innovation is the path to a better future. And we aim to discuss the concept of manned-unmanned teaming right from the discussion as a complete solution. This is a mission-critical step. It is not just a discussion. We are going to focus on those elements of this concept's fruition that will actually see translating into real action in the field and acquire this capability in the foreseeable future. This represents a transformative shift in combat operations. It enables real-time synergy between human decision-making and autonomous capabilities, enhancing situational awareness, operational reach, and precision targeting. As we see, we have been talking as far as warfare is concerned about enhancing joint venture. The buzzword now is multi-domain operations, wherein the elements that we are looking at is to attain information supremacy and cause information dominance and decision supremacy. MUMT gives the air warrior this unique opportunity to exercise both through harnessing the capabilities which are available through networking, high-speed communications, encryptions, and sheer performance. Various advancements in computing power, miniaturization of sensors and weapons, growth in the field of artificial intelligence have made this possible. The drones have increased in capability from lightweight nano drones to stealth unmanned combat air vehicles. The progress has been coupled with improvements in avionics, data links, and other smart sensors, which have permitted these unmanned elements to be a part of an organized group of identifiable capabilities, as against the UAVs. Moreover, drones themselves have demonstrated the capability of swarming that permit manned element to take a role of mission leader, while the frontline combat is delegated to swarmed elements. Presently, various entities, including HAL, you may have seen on TV yesterday, Group Captain H.V. Thakur giving an insight into the CATS warrior, and the private industry are working on this concept. However, developing the concept into its full potential demand not just a robust understanding, as well as it entails collaboration and partnership between the industry, academia, and research institutions. While I'm relatively new to this field of acquisitions and modern technology, but one thing which I have realized is nobody can do it alone. Whichever concept world over is successful, it is been achieved through harnessing capabilities, specializations which various players have, and they have come together. So I think collaboration right from the operator to the researcher and of course the industry, both private and public, is the key to having a solution, a complete solution that will give us the desired operational capability. The role of the industry is pivotal not just in developing this indigenous solution but also in ensuring that rapid and timely development and seamless integration into operational doctrines takes place. It is only right that we start crystallizing this concept. As you see, all the modern 6th generation fighter programs have this concept of manned-unmanned teaming embedded in them as perhaps not just an integral part, but the USP of the 6th generation fighter program is the manned-unmanned teaming. Our collective goal, therefore, should be to be self-reliant, where innovation within our borders ensures reduced dependency on foreign technologies. At the same time, trying to do it alone would perhaps not give us the desired results. We have to take on technology from abroad, collaborate with with the established players, and develop our own capabilities. Industry leaders, startups and agencies like DGAQA, CEMILAC, DPSUs, DRDO and services have to work hand in hand to address the operational requirements and fine-tune solutions in real time. I am sure that this seminar will provide an opportunity to various stakeholders to discuss the man-unmanned teaming and identify the critical technologies required to make it a reality. I would take this opportunity to extend a warm welcome and heartfelt gratitude once again to Air Chief Marshal Bhaduria, Director NAL, Dr. A. Fashilkar, Mr. Arun Peter from CEMILAC, and of course the industry rep who is transited from the uniform, Secondary Joshi. They have taken out their time from their busy schedules in this, festive occasion which is taking place where, there's a lot of activity taking place, and be part of this seminar so that we can ideate and integrate and make a solution that is good for the Indian Air Force. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for familiarizing us all on the subject for today's event. Now, before we move on to the panel discussion, let me introduce you to our panelists and the chair. May I request our esteemed speakers to please take their respective places on the stage as we await an enlightening discussion on today's topic.
The chair for today's panel discussion is former Chief of the Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhaduria, retired.
Our first speaker for the evening is Assistant Chief of the Air Staff, Ops Strategic, Air Vice Marshal A.K. Wahi, Ati Vishishta Seva Medal, Vayu Sena Medal, who will present the user perspective on MUMTI technology.
Dr. Abhay Anant Pashilkar, Director, National Aerospace Laboratories, will enlighten us on technical challenges and trends related to MUMTI.
Dr. M. Peter Arun, Scientist G, is Regional Director of RCMA Aircraft, CEMILAC.
The industry perspective and capabilities will be presented by Squadron Leader Samir Joshi, retired. May I now hand over the stage to you, sir.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for keeping the introduction short so that we have time for real discussion. I will not take time initially. I would straight away go on to the speakers to express their opinion in their areas of domain and expertise on this very important topic, and I just want to compliment the efforts for choosing this as the topic of this discussion, because it is really the critical area that Air Force needs to excel in the times to come, and on a scale and a pace which should be unprecedented, if I can put it simply. So over to Vani for giving the Air Force perspective. And I would request, I've been told that 3 o'clock is hard cutoff. 3 o'clock we finish. So 3 o'clock we'll just put mics off. So about 8 minutes each. And just leave 3-4 minutes for me at least.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Jai Hind, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, let me thank Air Chief Bhaduria for letting me take off first with our perspective. I have precisely 450 seconds left in which I'll try to explain this concept to you and what Air Force believes on this. I've kept it simple. We need to look at the why, the what, how, and what the future holds as the Air Force looks at it. If I come to why, 3 questions come to our mind. Why not purely manned? Why not purely unmanned? And why not remotely manned from ground? And please understand, when I'm talking about these domains, I'm looking at a contested and a congested environment where the adversary has got similar capability. He has the capability of area denial, and he can project force against us. First, why not purely manned? It's going to be dense, and it is going to be a lot of air defense. Chances of losing aircraft in the initial part of the conflict remains high. We also have a lot of investment in training of the air crew. Replacing them becomes an issue. And also density, number of aircraft we need which are costly may not be there. Can it be replaced by unmanned vehicles which are slightly cheaper, low RCS, and which can do the work which a manned platform can do? Next, why not purely unmanned? AI is the backbone. And presently where we stand, our own indigenous development, 3 issues come out. One is data purity, the algo logics, and the computational powers. I think indigenous development needs to come up before we can look at this purely unmanned. Also, one issue which keeps lingering is the conduct of war, the ethics of it. I will not touch much upon it, but this also remains in the background. Why not remotely manned from ground? The issue is of bandwidth, the line of sight capability. You will have certain other COGs coming up. A satellite, if it is taken away, how does the whole system perform? Similarly, you have control centers on ground. If they are taken out, what happens? The vulnerability increases. So a mix. So what we need is a mix of both. What best of both the worlds, that the capability of the manned and the unmanned platform. And what is shown here is the CATS program, which has been driven by my course mate, and I'm proud of it. And this will help us mitigating both the weaknesses of both the manned and the unmanned platform. If I come here, what you see on the graph is on the x-axis is the years as they go by, and the y-axis is the combat enabling performance. So what is shown on the green portion is how the unmanned system will continue to develop and move ahead. As we go ahead in the years, you can see the slope of is going really up. Further, as we go up on the red one is showing the manned capability. You will see a slight bit of dip happening close to 2035. As per our understanding, during this period, what will happen is there will be excessive workload in the cockpit. Hence, further taking on the load by a pilot might be difficult. So what we look at the collaborative process, which is shown in yellow, where you will see there will be a continuous increase before there's a small amount of dip, which we understand would happen because of, once again, a pilot trying to take away the load of the both manned and the unmanned. This is what we have studied, and this is what Indian Air Force application as of now is. So, how do we do it? So we could have any of the concept. I have just taken out a Wolfpack concept where Wolf, the alpha male, could be a manned 4.5 gen or a higher gen aircraft, or it could be a mothership, a transport aircraft or a helicopter which is launching, which has the command and control center with it. And subsequently you have the pack, which would be unmanned, could be lighter munition, could be different other assets which are available. So what do we achieve with this is that the air battle tactics, target selection and prioritization, decision and command and control remains with the manned platform. What does unmanned do? It executes decisions which are given to it and carries out tactical maneuvering. For targeting, it is very important to revisit the OODA loop, which is the observe, orientate, decide, and act. John Boyd, long time back, gave this out. So as per Air Force, what we think is the observe domain of it, we could use the remote capability, which would be in a high-risk environment and could be expendable. Whereas when it comes to orientate and decide, it would be a manned platform using cloud with edge computing to give a correct decision. Also augmented by AI as it develops and further moves ahead. Whereas the last portion, where is the act, which is the targeting, could once again be via unmanned platform, which could again be expendable or with high risk in a domain where he's entering. So if I move ahead, what will be the future Indian Air Force look like? It will be augmented with vectors and platforms, which will have mass, mobility, a mix of both, and also lethality and reach. We will have combat cloud, which will be AI infused, aided with solution. We would have a shorter OODA loop so that we can get into the enemy thought process. I leave you with a thought which was given long time back. No one can defeat a powerful mind. So totally unmanned, you may think, what we believe is technology should aid the mindset and not replace it. With this, I will hand over back to Baduria, sir.
Thanks very much. And while the user perspective is very clearly put out, I think I would request all the other speakers, while we are responding in terms of your own domain expertise, at the end, devote 1 minute to the way forward. What, in your opinion, should Air Force do? So I would request you to kindly.
Thank you, Chairman Sir, for this opportunity. So, this is what the topic is: manned-unmanned teams for aerial warfare concept to targeting. And I must admit that we did some work, so I'll highlight that. But more importantly, what is that we understood out of this and where we think are the technological challenges and possibly weaknesses. So, next one, please. So clearly what we are aiming for here is lethality, situational awareness, and survivability. These are the two key intent behind talking about the manned-unmanned teaming. And what we think is the solution side of things is having smart, connected, and modular systems, manned, unmanned, working together. And the expectation is the unmanned part of it brings you the speed, the machine speed that you crave for, the speed at which you are able to process information and arrive at a reasonably correct decision. As compared to human speed of cognition, human speed of assimilation, and then take the decision. So that's what is the dichotomy, so to speak. And of course, all of this is completely predicated on communication between those platforms. Those are modular platforms, whether in the air, on the ground, manned or unmanned. And here, you're trying to make sure that the unmanned part of it is essentially minimal in terms of power. So you are talking a little bit asymmetric in the sense that you can do more harm than what will befall you. So you're avoiding the human in the loop, increasing the speed of response. But as was mentioned by the previous speaker, also the ethics part of it has to be taken. So somewhere or the other, there has to be that human decision ultimately when it comes to targeting. But you're trying to minimize the power and maximize the bandwidth using the unmanned system. And as we can see clearly, the dull, dirty, and dangerous is where you would like to use or maximize the unmanned part of things, right? And clearly, it's not just limited to military. It is also very much has great deal of potential for civilian applications, whether it's situations like firefighting, search and rescue, hazmat accidents, law enforcement, all of that. The reason why I bring this is because this is one more way where you can use it to study those concepts, bring it to light, study what happens so that you get chance to develop those systems rather than being mostly military centric. So that's how overall I see the elements involved in this. And clearly there will be vulnerabilities with regard to communication, all of that, because it is totally dependent on a network centric scenario. So that in a sense is a vulnerability in my opinion. And of course, what work that we have been doing in the past, I would say at almost more than 2 decades, we've got good experience on multi-target tracking, both passive, active sensors of various kinds which are listed out there. We've been working a lot on multi-sensor fusion, both for the LCA Mark II and the AMCA itself. There is this concept of learning associated with AI, which means you must have the ability to digest a posteriori knowledge. That means knowledge which you got on the field, you should be able to fit back into your models. Whatever is the model that you're carrying, whatever the AI model which is supposedly learning from all this in the process of being deployed repeatedly either in a simulation setup or in a real world setup. So therefore, the concept of Bayesian thing comes in mathematically in that sense. And clearly, we have been working on this for a while with the AST for some time and then subsequently on our own. The other aspect which was briefly highlighted by the previous speaker was the human factors aspect of it. When you're putting a man and a machine in a loop, the machine is faster. However, you will still need elements of the human being involved in the decision making, and therefore you need to worry about what is the workload that you're putting on to the human being, how much of it is translated to the machine, how much of it is taken by the human being, how the entire system works. And we have been working on eye tracking as multimodal, one of the approaches to speeding up the human loop as well as using multimodal inputs, not just haptic inputs, not just visual or audio inputs, but also eye tracking potentially. All of those can play some role in this integration of man and machine. Of course, we built a simulator for the AMCA, which is also been used to some extent primarily for the human factors part of it, but can also be increasingly used as a test bed to try out the simulation part of things. But ultimately, there will have to be some kind of testing which will have to be done in the real world. And overall, I would advocate a system of systems approach. So that's how we look at this entire gamut of activities. So I would say the time is ripe to get into these aspects. Where it will take us is a matter of what we discover, how we discover, and how we address the vulnerabilities and how we enhance the effectiveness in terms of lethality, situational awareness, and all that I said in the beginning. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you really for taking time. With request from Semilac perspective. And it's my attempt that we'll keep at least 3-4 minutes for interaction with the audience for questions. So we are really sticking to time.
Thank you, Chairman. So I'm from Semilac, and regarding MUMT or Combat Collaborative Aircraft, today I'll be speaking on the certification challenges that lay ahead. Yes. MUMT, what are we looking at? It is a combat strategy that leverages the collaboration between the manned and the unmanned asset so as to enhance the combat effectiveness while augmenting the survival chances of the parent aircraft. Together calls for the MUMT technology, which is manned-unmanned teaming. This is going to have its nascent beginnings. It'll evolve to an extent, to the extent that we have clarity, but at some day, definitely, this is going to be a definite reality because the future looks at MUMT as a concept for combat. When air power and air superiority was seen as a formidable force, people said, yes, this is the one that's going to dictate the future war. Very soon, you all know, at some point, people mentioned that the future is going to be UAVs, but the natural evolution or the logical step is the combination of the two, which is the manned-unmanned teaming, which the future is going to see. So if you look at, if you do a SWOT analysis and look at what's in store for us, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, yes, it's going to give enhanced capabilities because you're marrying the capability of a manned and an unmanned aircraft. Increased safety, we have seen that. Operational flexibility, you go with something in mind, but quickly there is a dynamic scenario happening and you quickly need to assign, reappropriate. This technology offers you that. And yes, if the unmanned asset can be a sacrificial asset, if it can be dispensable, yes, it is a very, very cost-effective solution as well. Opportunities. Now, what is an opportunity? Do we need to go for it? Are we ready for it? Firstly, is the future requiring it? The way it looks, yes, it is a natural and logical evolution. The future is looking at it, therefore there is an opportunity. Are we geared up for it? Do we have the technologies that are going to be feasible to do it? What are the technologies that we may requiring it? Yes, you need higher computational power. You need a very strong, secure data links communication. You need multi-sensor data fusion. You need super cooled equipments and also very good HMI that comes to the pilot so his workload is reduced. So are we having such technologies? We'll have a look at it. We are there, almost there, because you need sophisticated algorithms. You need autonomy to be given to the UAVs. And are we there yet? Do we have that capability in the country? It appears, yes, we are there, but not fully there. And therefore, if you look at it, we do have opportunities to start realizing these concepts. And coming to weaknesses, it is a very complex integration. It is a fusion of several sensors. You're looking at radars, you're looking at electronic warfare, you're looking at combined interrogator transponders, then you're looking at EVO payloads. All these need to work together. You have an aircraft, you have a UAVs, and there's a strong data link. Therefore, it's a very, very complex integration. There's IRS and ICDs need to be perfect, and it's definitely an increased pilot workload. Not only he needs to fly the aircraft, but he now needs to fly the unmanned aircraft as well, sitting in the cockpit. So you can imagine how intensive it's going to be, the pilot, and reliability concerns. There are reliability concerns because if these don't work on any given day, when you're going for the warfare, if they don't work, if there's going to be an issue, then the survivability that we're talking of becomes a question. The collateral damages that can occur from the UAVs, again, it's going to be a question. It's one order more because it's going to be totally divergent and uncontrollable. And it is going to be subjected into a very, very high RF intensive environment, and therefore it is susceptible to the EMI and EMC. Threats. We are going to share airspace between manned and unmanned. Not only that, you're going to share airspace between unmanned and unmanned. Each of the unmanned asset will have a different role, and therefore collision avoidance is going to be a challenge. Bandwidth and ComSec risks. ComSec communication security is extremely important. What is used to link between the mother and the child can also be used against you, and the assets can go rogue. Therefore, communication security is extremely important. The human-machine interface, which needs to reduce the cognitive load of the pilot, has to have a separate look onto it. You must have a reliable multi-sensor data fusion, which means there are different units which operate on different embedded software. The information from all these sensors need to be collated. There has to be algorithms, AI-based algorithms, which will sample these data, look into what is right, what is not right, eliminate, vote out what is not right, and to cohesively bring that information to the pilot so as to he can take informed decision, and he has a better situational awareness. And of course, regulatory and certification challenges are going to be there because these are extremely new. So those areas are the ones where it's going to be a challenge for certification. And just to start with, if we certification design agencies have the ConOps just from the point of system engineering point of view, giving the information of the environment, the limitations, the capability, and the envelope, to that extent, it can enable the designers and the technical evidence authorities to look into the complete design and test adequacy. Yes, we spoke about communication and data reliability. It has to be extremely secure. It has to be crucial. And it has to handle huge volumes of data because there are many sensors and each of them will have their own baud rate, each of them will have their own sample rate. All of these need to be acquired at the right instant, and the cognitive essence need to be generated out of them. Cybersecurity is extremely important. The very technology which enables MUMT can be used against if not protected properly. Spoofing is very common, and it needs to be protected against such endeavors. And therefore, it's not only the communication link, we're looking at the flight control system, which will generally be a fly-by-wire. It needs to protect if anything goes wrong. It could have an unwanted, unintentional collateral damage as well. So cyber security becomes an important aspect when you start integrating, and therefore it is going to be a challenge. And moving forward, autonomy and AI integration. The autonomy that we've done so far, the autonomy that is going to be required in MUMP technology is going to be one order more, because the situation, the scenario is dynamically changing, and therefore you need to have AI-based driven algorithms which look into this data and quickly, dynamically keep updating so as to keep changing the autonomous requirements for the UAV as well. And finally, we are looking at the human-machine interface. To reduce the cognitive load, you need to have very intuitive and a very efficient interface which will manifest as having a separate unit in the cockpit that can provide all the necessary information that a pilot would need, not only to fly his aircraft, but also to control the sensors and the flight controls of the UAV in order to achieve the single point goal of the mission. So these are all the challenges which we are going to face. It's easily said than done. And moving forward, sensor integration. As I mentioned, you're going to have a lot of sensors. Sensors to offend, sensors to defend. You need sensors that will need to transmit data. You have communication data, you have visuals data, you have the movies, you need to do some kind of assessment, you need to have such high baud rate, and all these need to be combined, and unless you have multi-center data fusion, it is going to be a challenge. And this has to be done in real time, which means the speeds, it should have no lag. The moment there is a lag, the opportunity is missed, and therefore the pilot will actually be acting on something that has happened given earlier and not on what has been given current. And the criticality classification. We make a beautiful aircraft, we make a safe aircraft. Aircraft from the aeromechanical point of view, from structures, flight control system, as well as the engine. But what good it is if it is safe, but then on any given day when it has to fight a war, when the systems that you integrate do not function at that point of time. It reduces the survivability index of the aircraft, and you tend to lose the aircraft. So having a safe aircraft is not just enough. You need to have an aircraft that is high in its survivability as well, and only then together you can call as an aircraft as safe when it goes to fight the war. So to conclude, let me move on. The requirements are very stringent and they are very new. It's new because first time it's going to be handled in the country. That's where I said it will be nascent, but then it will evolve as we go on. And it's definitely going to be a challenge to both the designers as well as certification agency. And the only way out is a process-driven approach, which means you have the top-level requirements, you freeze them, you're very clear about them, you have the system level, you have the subsystem level, and each of these requirements would need to be mapped. You need to map them to the design, you need to map them to the reliability, you need to map them to the redundancies that you may need, because you need to have that kind of a feeling of security when you're going out for the war. And then you need to map to the testing as well. The testing can be analysis, it could be ground testing, it could be flight testing, it could be combined testing on another aircraft, a technology demonstrator, proving the systems and then putting it onto the actual parent aircraft. All these have to be laid out a priori and a plan has to be done. And therefore the criticality classification, it should depend on the survivability and the collateral damage, not necessarily the probability of loss of control of an aircraft. It can be a case-to-case basis. It need not be holistic to the entire systems, depending on which system fails. And finally, it will be a concurrent approach and a progressive clearance that the CEMILAC would undertake. So thank you. And just one point which Chairman asked is, how do we go forward? There are islands of excellence and expertise in the country. We've got aircraft manufacturer, we have aircraft designer, we have, for the first time, we are going to attempt MSDF on Mark II. For the first time, we are going to come out with the AI-based algorithms at HAL, ADA, and ADE, which looks at data links. We need to combine them together in order to enable this realization. And wherever we fall short, collaboration, strategic partnership, and joint ventures should also be considered, because there are countries who are quite advanced. Raytheon, for example, they call it as a combat collaborative aircraft. They're advanced in this. If there's something can happen, that should fill the gaps that we are seeing. So I feel that should be the way forward approach, in my opinion, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Samir. All yours.
Chairman, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'll give you the industry perspective on man-on-man teaming, specifically centered around collaborative combat aircraft, because this is going to be the manifestation, true manifestation in which the men in blues are going to utilize this tech in the days ahead. So larger issue which the industry faces is lack of clarity. So this is a new tech, it's the blue sky research area. Not only is Air Force kind of grappling with what kind of ConOps, what kind of usage of this technology will come in the future, but the industry is also, kind of wearing the thinking hats and kind of wondering what is that technology and the product that we can pitch to the Indian Air Force, which can be utilized into a meaningful, at least a technology demonstration and going forward. Now this has been going on for a while, but the fact of the matter is that I'm very glad to see that all speakers, the way they've covered and the seriousness of the Air Force towards MUMTI is coming up. I think the moment is now on with us. And this is where the perspective from the industry lies around learning from countries who have done this to a great extent. And here, the US is the global leader. They have been working for a very long time in CCAs, in developing this technology. And I will kind of, quickly take you around what kind of paradigm is available to us to take lessons from. So the basic problem which everybody across the world is facing is the emergence of A2AD bubbles. Now, these bubbles are, layers of defenses. We are only going to get fortified more and more. This is just an example of South China Sea, the way the US looks at it. With the advent of fifth generation platforms intermixing along with fourth generation, the whole dynamics are changing. Now, towards this, will your standard kill chain, the philosophies, the doctrines which the Air Force or the manned platform fleet with strike corridors, with OCA, DCA missions, will it survive to that an extent? Yeah, it may or may not survive. But the fact of the matter, one thing we all agree upon is that it's definitely going to cause a lot of attrition. So this is where the kill chain is now going to change into something what we term as the kill web. And that is where MUMTI and especially collaborative combat aircraft, or also called as loyal wingman, they're going to emerge in a big, big way. So this concept is actually going to support a lot of operations for the 4.5 gen as well as the 5th gen capabilities being deployed. Now, especially for air-to-air missions, largely because there is a larger part of that layer which is airborne, and of course, towards the ground defenses, towards surface-to-air missiles, etc., etc. Now, these CCAs are going to be the clear vector which is going to support these operations, which are going to operate as a robotic layer between you and the enemy and be part of this mesh. They will be utilizing further augmentations through standoff platforms, through other sensors distributed amongst them, and taking it forward in alongside technologies. The technologies are largely going to be sensors, long-range detection, radars, also going to be on-edge computing, because intelligence will play a big, big role here. Mesh communications, secure data links, etc., etc., and of course, cyber protection. This is the advantage what a CCA gives you. On the left side, you have a 4th gen aircraft fighting a 5th gen. It's a stray cut. It's the long reach. One who sees first, obviously the stealth aircraft is going to see you first because he is going to delay detection by you. So he has that advantage. What about if we prepare a layer between, a 4th gen aircraft and a 5th gen aircraft? These aircrafts are definitely going to aid in a much more kind of detection and delay in acquisition for the other side, as well as threaten him to a great extent and pair back the same. So what are the inferences we are getting? We are getting that 4th, 5th gen aircraft are exquisite expensive, available in fewer numbers. Recent conflicts have, spiked up the A2AD use, where the concept of sizable mass is just not possible to get through in a manifestation in the manned forms. So we will introduce again this combat mass through robotic platforms, CCA being one. MUMTI is the layer which kind of takes it forward. Now this can disaggregate sensors and payloads across dispersed, less exquisite vehicle types. You need not have a very highly, multi-role platform. You may be a specific CCA which is air-to-air. You may have something which is for air-to-ground operations. And of course, the CCAs, once they come on board, and I'm just using this word CCA, we can get any kind of word around this. But that platform kind of increases the density. It gives you a higher chance of picking the other side because whatever said and done, the other side does not have magical sensors. And as we go forward, the non-stealthy aircraft especially benefit a lot from robotic augmentation towards going forward. Largely, it's a system of systems approach, just breaking down, Mr. Arun covered it beautifully. I'm just breaking down what are the basic elements. You have your own element for the aircraft fleet, 4th gen, 5th gen. Then CCAs in there, air-to-air, air-to-ground roles. You have weapon systems, which will be largely standoff in nature. These will itself be utilized to create a lot of air-launched effects. Then you have collaborative autonomy. This is something I'll cover because largely this is the context which the industry is working on. And mesh networks, again, something which has been covered extensively. But last but not the least is a human-machine interface. You don't want the pilot to focus on controlling these CCAs while forgetting to do his core job in the cockpit. That's very, very critical. So what is collaborative autonomy? Collaborative autonomy is working with another platform which is very intelligent and making it in sync with your mission needs. Towards this autonomy layer, which leads to reside on the CCA, as well as your own aircraft, will have various sublayers. Now, what are these sublayers? The first is the autonomous intelligent mission planning module. You should have this full context available. Then is the swarming behavior. This has to be decentralized. You take down 2 CCS doesn't mean that the formation goes for a one. They need to redistribute. They need to reconnect. Collaboration and teaming, situational awareness, the full sensor fusion module, contingency management, and last but not the least, the full ConOps, the tactical employability, how these go forward as kind of we take forward. What is the combat autonomy problem to solve? At the bottom, we are right now in the bottom spectrum. US has had experiments like Alpha Dogfight trials, and now they have actually flown a F-16 Vista with some kind of collaborative autonomy deployed as part of this program, as well as the AFRL program called the Skyborg. Largely, where they have gone is from a within visual range scenario. This autonomy for a 1 versus 1, where the vision perception of a single agent is now being transformed into much complex missions. Suddenly, the whole paradigm goes up. Here the normal hierarchies actually don't hold up. So you need to get a lot of facets which are data-driven, as well as, a lot of reliance on the simulation side. So what are the various tenets where the world is focusing on is something which is explainable. AI, the best form of AI is which reacts and does something which, is not explainable because it will have novelty in it. But in air combat, we cannot afford to have unexplainability around it, especially when you're looking into trust behavior, into ethics. We need to be very much in control. So we focus on the form of neural networks, which are somewhat, connected with behavior trees, which are much more explainable. Only for certain novel conditions will you use a unexplainable AI, which will result into some dynamic action, which maybe, a last-ditch kind of maneuver. So what are the inferences? HMI, the fastest way to experiment is carry a tablet. This is what everybody is doing. Take a tablet in the cockpit, but is it acceptable to our designers, aircraft makers? For that, we have to kind of, carry out these experiments, starting with helicopters, going on to fleets like the Dornier, transport aircraft, and then finally transitioning onto dual cockpits. But the final manifestation has to be in the mission software, and this is where we have to focus that the software should be so simple, where the pilot actually ends up commanding a series of platforms. That's what collaborative autonomy is all about, rather than controlling them. So it should not be about 3 to 4 steps of interaction, where the pilot is doing and focusing back on his core job. Only when he needs to take a decision, like a kill vector being placed there, only then he should be disturbed. Otherwise, path planning, navigation, going on search pattern, scanning the skies should be the context of the collaborative autonomy on board the robotic platform in support of the manned element. That's where we are. Another thing which is coming out very clearly is how much autonomy is actually good enough. So when the Americans started doing this, they went after the best of the best. They said, okay, they did 3 to 4 programs. Even there was an autonomy, called Alpha. This was built with Cincinnati University, which kind of in BVR combat, at least in a 2D kind of plane, was very good. But then they realized there were certain things they couldn't explain. So they also realized that at this juncture, if we can have some very high degree of automation, that itself, supported by a baseline autonomy and AI, is going to give you kind of results. So one of the best ways to kind of experience this is simulations. And that's what the US has focused a lot on. Alpha Dogfight trials and even Skyborg has focused a lot. I think this is the right way we can start in very high fidelity simulated environments where agents can interact. You can deploy your ConOps. You will come to know what is that layer and how do we kind of, command that. Are your algorithms decentralized? Are they working? Are your mesh networks, can we through NLP itself command a CCA agent in going forward on the same? These are the kind of capabilities which are available. And, sorry, I'm just finishing, that's like. An efficient automation process with a lower level of autonomy in AI can still deliver desired results in a very, very clear manner. The US is going fully after this. This is after, so we don't have to follow the US, but it is a good indicator that very high degree of automation supported by baseline autonomy in AI can itself give you a good degree of results. Second is, and this is more pertinent, especially where you require human on-the-loop decision making. That is where you need to have explainable elements and very critical when you are employing the weapons. When we evaluate the trust and ethical behavior of the intelligence on the robotic autonomy entity, the explainability of AI, this part I've covered, this kind of trumps the very advanced and the novel usage. You'll remember that dogfight trials, anybody who saw through that, the AI was taking some fantastic kind of decisions which were not taught to it by the humans. It was a reinforcement learning agent-based behavior, but by the time it went through about 5 billion iterations, 5 billion runs through that data, that AI started doing maneuvers which the human would have been impossible to actually undertake. But because it's a robotic platform, you have taken the man out of the loop. He has the full performance envelope of that platform available to exploit. So for us in the field, we are looking for indications from the Air Force, what kind of roadmap for MUMTI, for kind of robotic agents, for CCAs or loyal wingmans, whatever way we want to manifest them, is Air Force planning. If there is a clarity of next 10 years, how Air Force is planning to integrate MUMTI, is it, and this has been one of the things which I have noticed, whenever we start talking of this, instead of the basic building blocks, everybody wants to jump on the straightforward operational scenarios. Can it straight away get into a large force engagement package? Can it, so the end state is visualized as that. It is humanly and, impossible for anybody in the world right now to deliver an AI which will be able to confidently operate with you, along with you, and as well as, give you that capability to bear larger mission effectiveness. So it will be baby steps. We have to find a way, maybe through a simulation to a scaled, to an actual platform, something like the F-16 Vista the US Air Force is doing. So we are actually looking forward to this. And even this seminar having, discussing this topic is a very huge encouragement for us in the industry. And we are very thankful and look forward to for the further roadmap for MUMTI in the Air Force. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samir. Although you were exceeding time, I didn't have the heart to stop you because of the important points you were making. And to quickly summarize or to cover my points, I think a lot has been said by the experts. I will not repeat those things. In terms of why it is required, apart from contested airspace and dense, I think we have to worry about where China is today, having done what DeepSeek has done, and the disruption it has caused in the Western world. They have stepped onto AGI. They are not far from ASI. So to my mind, the concept of MUMT and the way it started is already obsolete. I'm glad some of the speakers have already touched upon some of the issues in technology and automation that needs to go forward. It's already part of presentation. But I think this is the time to really think, very innovatively and very fast forward. I think the time scale has got shortened. The scale and intensity of work on this in this field just got far more complex. What should the Air Force do? I think this is the time that you need to deal into 3-4 very critical pillars of this. To start with the data network itself, the data backbones, terrestrial stroke space-based, to be able to handle this kind of traffic. Fusion, etc. has already been talked about, but you need to be able to transmit your kind of networks required, your kind of automation, and above all, the immediate requirement of launching projects, maybe from open domain models for time being, to start working on this concept. But having our own models, it has to be indigenous, and there is nobody in India today that is doing it. Developing indigenous models in AGI, and going on to ASI capability to be able to design the unmanned platforms 2 years from now, from scratch to flying platform with Semilac clearance who needs to devise new methods within 6 months. This is the future 3 years from now. This is what China will be doing. If we don't end up there, we will not be able to catch up. So if we are really into this space, I think it couldn't be more timely from Air Force perspective to really bring this to center stage. We need to develop, we need to probably order at least 3, if not more, competitive kind of proposals or competitive projects with our industry in terms of developing this concept, funded largely by the Air Force, because such funding cannot come from small private sectors. We need to launch projects into own model developing and training on data that is relevant and have this capability developed for the Air Force. And that will become, actually, the manned and unmanned is for all 3 services in their own domains of manned and unmanned. It includes also the manned elements on ground. Therefore, this same concept, it is most complex for air, will get easily transported to all our other defense requirements. I think the subject is really complex. There are huge challenges, but Air Force is in good position technologically to be able to handle it and take some innovative methods of launching at least 3 successful parallel projects on the DARPA model, but going much beyond that, launching networking separate, launching ability to create autonomous systems separately, and launching on AGI and ASI. So we are talking of 6 minimum projects which need to be launched tomorrow. I hope the Deputy Chief is listening and will convey to the Chief that this is the heart of the matter as discussed in the platform today. I will quickly throw it open. I think if you can give us 3 minutes, your team can reassemble instead of 15 minutes in 10 minutes. Quick 2 questions, and we exit this place. Yeah.
Thank you, Air Marshal Bhaduria, sir. I'll only take 15 seconds to articulate. I am a RPC and a RPI of UAV systems. My concern is...
Quickly, question. No.
My question is, if there is an FPV pilot, he will be guided by AR/VR gadget. For that particular, let us say, quarter of a second, which would mean like a 25-meter square.
He mentioned, we are talking of different pilots. He will be totally autonomous supported. The level, the pilot's job is going to change, or the human, wherever in the interface, in the air or on the ground, will change totally, okay? So 3 Aero Indias later, we will be meeting those chaps.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So thank you very much. And thank you all the speakers. Thank you for bringing everything here.
Thank you, sirs, for such an educating and exciting insight into the MUMT technology. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated and ensure your phones are on silent mode as we rearrange the stage. We now await the arrival of our chief guest, the Honorable Raksha Rajya Mantri. May I request all to rise on the arrival of the chief guest. I once again request the audience to kindly remain seated.
We request all our esteemed audience to kindly switch off your mobiles or put it on silent mode.
Chief guest for the evening, Honorable Raksha Rajya Mantri Shri Sanjay Seth ji has arrived. आज के मुख्य अतिथि माननीय रक्षा राज्य मंत्री श्री संजय सेठ जी का आगमन हो गया है।
माननीय रक्षा राज्य मंत्री श्री संजय सेठ जी ने अपने 5 दशक के सामाजिक एवं राजनीतिक जीवन में कई क्षेत्रों में महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाई है। समाज, संस्कृति एवं पर्यावरण से जुड़े राष्ट्रीय मुद्दों पर आपके नेतृत्व ने देश को एक नई दिशा प्रदान की है। जून 2024 को आपने रक्षा राज्य मंत्री का पदभार संभाला। Shri Sanjay Seth ji has been instrumental in transforming the armed forces through modernization, self-reliance, and strategic reforms. Under his stellar leadership, initiatives like Atmanirbhar Bharat in defense have boosted indigenous manufacturing. He has overseen a record number of defense acquisitions, combined with the focus on strengthening India's defense capabilities while fostering global partnership, ensuring armed forces remain prepared for all the future challenges. इस कार्यक्रम में भारतीय उद्योग के लिए भारतीय वायुसेना के चुनौतियों एवं अवसरों का कंपेंडियम माननीय रक्षा राज्य मंत्री जी द्वारा अनावृत किया जाएगा। तत्पश्चात मेहर बाबा द्वितीय प्रतियोगिता के परिणाम की घोषणा की जाएगी। भारतीय एरोस्पेस की परिस्थितियों के अनुरूप उद्योग जगत के समक्ष सहयोगात्मक ड्रोन आधारित निगरानी रडार को मेहर बाबा प्रतियोगिता के तीसरे चरण की चुनौती के रूप में घोषित किया जाएगा और अंततः वायु वित्त डिजिटल पोर्टल का अनावरण किया जाएगा। पिछले दशक में भारत की क्षमताओं के अभूतपूर्व विकास में कुछ योजनाओं ने अतुलनीय योगदान दिया है। इसी श्रृंखला को अगले सोपान पर पहुंचाने हेतु अब हम माननीय रक्षा राज्य मंत्री जी से अनुरोध करेंगे कि वे अपने कर कमलों द्वारा हमारे आलेख संग्रह कंपेंडियम ऑफ चैलेंजेस एंड अपॉर्चुनिटीज फॉर इंडियन इंडस्ट्री का अनावरण करें। I shall now request all the esteemed guests to come forward for the release. भारतीय वायुसेना द्वारा निष्पादित इस आलेख संग्रह का प्रयोजन भारतीय उद्योग जगत को अपनी वर्तमान एवं भविष्य की आवश्यकताओं से अवगत कराना तथा अनुसंधान एवं विकास के सटीक लक्ष्य प्रतिपादित करना है। यह पुस्तक भारतीय वायुसेना की वेबसाइट पर डिजिटल प्रारूप में भी उपलब्ध की जाएगी ताकि सभी संबंधित व्यक्ति इसका लाभ ले सकें। इस आलेख संग्रह में उद्योग जगत हेतु 180 से अधिक क्षेत्रों में अवसरों का ब्यौरा है। पिछले कुछ दशकों के अथक प्रयासों के फलस्वरूप भारत के नवाचार में एक नए युग का प्रारंभ हुआ है एवं आज इसी क्रम में मेहर बाबा प्रतियोगिता के दूसरे चरण के समापन की ओर हम बढ़ रहे हैं। अब मैं रक्षा राज्य मंत्री जी से अनुरोध करूंगा कि वे इस प्रतियोगिता के विजेता अयान ऑटोनोमस सिस्टम्स प्राइवेट लिमिटेड एवं उप विजेता आरएफ प्राइवेट लिमिटेड को सम्मान चिन्ह प्रदान करें। Ayan Autonomous Systems Private Limited. Fleet RF Private Limited. अब हम माननीय रक्षा राज्य मंत्री जी से आग्रह करेंगे कि वे नवाचार के अगले चरण में प्रयाण को दर्शाते हुए मेहर बाबा प्रतियोगिता के तीसरे चरण के आरंभ की उद्घोषणा करें। To further strengthen Digital India mission, an integrated digital platform named Vayuvit has been designed and developed. The Vayuvit portal has been developed to facilitate seamless operations between the Indian Air Force and Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. We now request Honorable Raksha Rajamantri ji to launch the Vayuvit digital portal. धन्यवाद महोदय। अब मैं माननीय रक्षा राज्य मंत्री जी से अनुरोध करता हूं कि वे सभा को संबोधित करें तथा हमें नवाचार एवं आत्मनिर्भरता के इस पथ पर आगे बढ़ने हेतु मार्गदर्शन प्रदान करें।
First of all, I would like to congratulate DDP, Indian Air Force, and others for successfully conducting Aero India 25 under the leadership of Honorable Defence Minister Sri Rajnath Singh ji. Namaskar. बोले भारत माता की Chief of Air Staff Air Marshal Amarpreet Singh ji, Deputy Chief Air Staff Air Marshal Tajinder Singh ji, Air Marshal Vijay Kumar Garg ji, Air Marshal SP Dharkar ji, distinguished guests, esteemed representatives from the aerospace and defense sector, and our young innovators, it is an honor to address this gathering at a pivotal moment in India's journey towards self-reliance. Today we are not merely investing the future of our armed forces, we are laying the foundation for India emerge as a global leader in the aerospace and defense sector. The Ministry of Defense had declared 2025 as the year of transformation to transform our armed forces into a technological advanced combat-ready force, capable multi-domain integrated operation. A clearing call for our defense industry, startups, MSMEs, academia, tech incubators to lead this change and contribute to the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. I am proud to highlight the Indian Air Force vision and commitment towards modernization through indigenous efforts. Towards the same, they have taken the lead and realizing one of the futuristic technology, man-unmanned teaming. The vision and concept, once integrated into the Indian Air Force operational domain, is going to be ground-breaking framework enabling manned and unmanned aerial system to collaborate seamlessly. Under this model, manned elements lead missions while unmanned systems execute frontline combat roles. This will not only enhance combat effectiveness, but will also minimize risks to human life, keeping our forces at the cutting edge of global defense technology. I have been informed that a panel discussion on the MUMT has taken place at this seminar prior to my arrival today, with participation from Indian Air Force, NAL and Similac industry in this discussion. I can say with confidence that a strong beginning has been made to take such niche technology forward in the coming years. Atmanirbharta or self-reliance is not merely a policy, but transformative vision for the India's future. The defense sector stands a cornerstone of this vision. We are fostering indigenous innovation and reducing dependence on the foreign technology are paramount. Our nation bringing the talent and entrepreneurs spirit, I urge each stakeholder here, large corporation, startups, MSMEs like, to harness this potential. Together we must build a robust ecosystem that nurtures innovation and contributes meaningfully to our defense capabilities. Indian Air Force has been the forefront embracing the vision Atmanirbhar Bharat by actively supporting indigenous defense development and manufacturing. Projects such as the Tejas Light Combat Aircraft, Dhruv Advanced Light Helicopter, Prachand Light Utility Helicopter, Akash, BrahMos, Air Defense Weapons, Indra and Aruda radars, indigenous UAVs, etc., to name a few, are shining example of capabilities of Indian designer, engineers, and industry. This is an important attribute for recognition of our nation emerging power in the field of aerospace and defense manufacturing and self-reliance. The Ministry of Defense recognizes that the challenges of modern defense are complex and multifaceted. To address these, we are fostering partnership across the industry, academia, and the armed forces. We have revamped the defense acquisition procedure and simplify procurement, enhance transparency, and prioritize and participation from Indian entities. Initiatives are in place to promote joint ventures, technology sharing, and co-development of the technologies, ensuring that our armed forces are equipped with the best tools for their mission. MSMEs or startups are backbone of the innovation in India. Possessing the agility or creativity to drive change at unprecedented pace. The government is committed to supporting these entities by enhancing funding access, introducing mentorship programs, and creating platform and collaboration. Development of indigenous defense capability would ensure continued maintenance support and operational edge, along with boosting and operational potential of our armed forces, ensuring we are always future ready and ahead of curve. In the last few years, Indian Air Force has successfully launched 78 projects under the IDEX scheme, 48 projects under MAKE, and 37 in TDF initiative and are under various stages of development. The response and initiative of industry towards the R&D, manufacturing, and operational integration and praiseworthy. I encourage our MSMEs leverage their capabilities and take bold steps into defense production, and their contribution are vital building secure and self-reliant India. Our universities and research institutions are treasure troves and knowledge and expertise. By bridging the gap between theoretical research and practical application, academia can play a pivotal role in driving technological advancements in defense. Tech incubators too, the essential nurturing the next generation innovators. We are creating an environment where young minds can experiment, develop prototypes, and bring groundbreaking solutions on our armed forces. I urge academia and tech incubators to actively collaborate with the defense experts and leverage government initiatives, bring their ideas fruition. Investment in research and development will remain a key priority. The government is increasing R&D allocation for defense, encouraging a culture on innovation, and incentivizing breakthroughs in technology from artificial intelligence and advanced materials. Our focus is on equipping the armed forces with the tools they need to address evolving security challenges. Friends, I call upon all stakeholders, industry leaders, researchers, and entrepreneurs to join hands make this vision a reality. Release a compendium, the declaration of Meher Baba 2, competition result launch Vayu with digital portal. It is with a great pride that today I have released the compendium authored by Indian Air Force. Indian Air Force compendium, the challenges and opportunities for Indian industry. These resources identifies key challenges in the defense sector and highlights opportunities for the innovation and growth in aerospace domain. I urge all stakeholders to utilize this compendium as a roadmap to address pressing issue and develop cutting-edge solution for future. I am equally pleased to announce the winners of the Meher Baba 2 competition and launch Meher Baba 3 challenge. These will enhance the capabilities of Indian Air Force. The launch of Vayu with digital portal of Indian Air Force for placing supply orders certification of payment between Indian Air Force and HAL will not only enhance digitalization but will also improve efficiency and transparency. स्वावलंबन में सूरस्य बलम न अनस्य, आत्मनिर्भरता ही वीर का बल होता है। आत्मनिर्भरता ही वीर का बल होता है, किसी और का नहीं। अर्थात जो व्यक्ति स्वयं सिद्धित और आत्मनिर्भर में विश्वास करता है वही सच्चा वीर होता है। देश आत्मनिर्भरता की ओर बढ़ा है। भारतीय डिफेंस सेक्टर, दुनिया आज डिफेंस सेक्टर की मुरीद है और दुनिया आज भारत की तरफ आंख उठाकर देख रही है। यह दौड़ता हुआ भारत है और यह भारत और भारतीय सेना दुनिया की, कह सकते हैं कि दुनिया की तीसरी सबसे सशक्त सेना। The journey towards आत्मनिर्भरता is shared responsibility. It requires commitment, collaboration, and unified vision. Each one of you has a crucial role to play, whether through your expertise, your innovation, your partnership. Together we can redefine India's defense landscape and position our nation as a global leader in aerospace and defense technology. देश जब आजादी के 100 साल होंगे, 2047, विकसित भारत का संकल्प आज जो 20-22 साल का स्टार्टअप है वो आज का हमारा एम्बेसडर है। आने वाले कल का भारत का वो एक ऐसा उसको भारत दें जो सर्वश्रेष्ठ भारत हो। Let us seize the opportunity to make 2025 a transformative year our history, a year where we not only dream but also achieve. I congratulate Indian Air Force. You all good luck in this collective journey of growth and success. इंडियन एयरफोर्स की कोई सानी नहीं और हम कह सकते हैं कि वो लक्ष्य विकसित भारत का इंडियन एयरफोर्स का भी है। 2047 दुनिया की सर्वश्रेष्ठ एयरफोर्स हमारी होगी। इस संकल्प के साथ आगे बढ़ रहे और मैं कह सकता हूं कि 4 लाइन देश के अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी ने कहा था भारत के लिए। उन्होंने कहा था ये वंदन की भूमि अभिनंदन की भूमि है, ये वंदन की भूमि अभिनंदन की भूमि है, ये तर्पण की भूमि है, अर्पण की भूमि है। यहां की नदी नदी गंगा है, यहां का कंकड़ कंकड़ शंकर है। हम जिएंगे तो भारत के लिए, मरेंगे भी तो भारत के लिए। यह संकल्प 140 करोड़ देशवासियों का। और जब हम भारत माता की जयकारा लगाते हैं तो कोई ऐसा जयकारा नहीं होता। सीमाओं पे बैठा हमारा वीर जवान, एक हाथ में हमारा प्यारा न्यारा तिरंगा और उसके मुंह से आवाज आ रही है भारत माता की जय, भारत माता की जय। वो भारत माता की जय, वो टॉनिक और भारत माता की जयकारा लगाने से एक शरीर में कंपन आता है। तभी हमारे पूर्व प्रधानमंत्री ने भी कहा था, अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी ने, कि जब मैं अंतिम यात्रा पे होऊंगा, जब मैं मरूंगा, मेरे अस्थियां जब गंगा में प्रभावित होंगी, तो उन अस्थियों को जब प्रभावित हो रही होंगी, तो उन लहरों में कान लगा के सुन लेना देशवासियों, उसमें से इसी आवाज आएगी कि भारत माता की जय, भारत माता की जय। यह है भारत माता। आज मुझे गर्व है इंडियन एयरफोर्स पे, हमारे स्टार्टअप पे, हमारे जो यंग हैं, कैरियर ओरिएंटेड है, आगे बढ़ना चाह रहे हैं, उनका गोल भी है भारत को दुनिया पे के शिखर पे ले जाना। मेरी ब्लेसिंग्स है ऐसे बच्चे जो नए नए इनोवेशन, नए नए तरीके निकाल रहे हैं। आज आपको जरूरत है। दुनिया का सबसे यंग देश, सबसे युवा देश हमारा भारत है, और हम प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के नेतृत्व में, हमारे आदरणीय रक्षा मंत्री राजनाथ सिंह जी के कुशल नेतृत्व में, हमारा इंडियन एयरफोर्स के लीडर जो यहां डैश पे बैठे हैं, मैं आपको सैल्यूट करना चाहता हूं, आप सबको सैल्यूट करना चाहता हूं। आप लगातार देश की सेवा, आप लगातार परिवार से दूर रहकर भी अपने प्यारे न्यारे तिरंगे के लिए पूरा जीवन खपा दिया। आने वाले दिनों में हम विकसित भारत का सपना साकार हो, इसका संकल्प लेते हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
माननीय रक्षा राज्य मंत्री जी द्वारा हमें नवाचार एवं आत्मनिर्भरता के प्रति मार्गदर्शन एवं आगे की राह बताने के लिए हार्दिक आभार प्रकट करते हैं। May I now request the Chief of the Air Staff to present a token of gratitude to the Honorable Raksha Raj Mantri. Thank you, sir. May I now request the audience to kindly be seated for further proceedings.
May I request everyone to settle down, please? And may I request the panelists for the first session to kindly grace the stage for 5 minutes of question answers, and thereafter we have the presentation of mementos by the Vice Chief of Air Staff.
You can thank the Deputy Chief for this second session. We'll straight away throw it open for questions. Whatever you wanted to ask, couldn't ask, please. In 50 minutes, this was a very short time for us to address this. I have to really tell the speakers, they did a fantastic job. But there are many issues that get thrown up or issues that we need to look at. This was just touching the topic. So let's address whatever you think, whatever is in your mind, and thereafter we'll hand over back. Yeah, please go ahead. If you don't ask, then I'll start asking the speaker's question.
I'm Evim Dangi, sir. I just roamed around yesterday and I realized that as far as UAV systems are concerned, they are being certified by DGQA based on who's buying them and maybe also by DGAQA. So now with this concept of coming of MUMT, do you think there is a need to have very, very clearly defined regulatory mechanism as to how are we going to ensure the quality control both in design as well as in production?
I will request this answer from Semilak's side, and I also want to add something in the end.
Yeah. So when it comes to certification, airworthiness, there are two agencies. One is Semilak and the other is DGAQA, which you have mentioned. Now, Semilak looks at design assurance and then DGAQA looks at quality assurance. So together they work in order to realize the product. So what does Semilak do? Semilak looks at design adequacy, test adequacy, compliance to safety standards, compliance to the requirements, compliance to the ASR. Now, whatever has been evolved as a prototype is evaluated iteratively and frozen, the design is frozen. So that ensures that this particular frozen SOP will indeed do the job that is meant to do and it will be safe. So that is design assurance. But that's on paper. You have a prototype, you have evaluated, it's on paper. But then you have to faithfully transmit that into actuals. So there's where the quality assurance, there is where the manufacturing has to come in. So that aspect is done by DGAQA. So the processes are laid out. There are no ambiguity about it. We know who's doing what. And there will not be anything new coming into this because, again, once you have realized the product, prototype, once you have evaluated it, it's all about ensuring that what's on design is faithfully reproduced. So that is where I feel. Yeah.
UAV system which is now being inducted by one of the forces. I don't want to.
Okay.
So my point is, if aviation store is supposed to be quality control through DGAQA setup. Now today DGQA is falling into that, is fulfilling that role for a particular service. So tomorrow from this kind of a thing which is more complex, do you think there is a need to have very, very clear regulatory mechanism to ensure that such kind of one kind of
No, it should not happen. If DG QA has done it, probably some kind of delegation might have happened from DG AQA to DG QA. But as long as it's an airborne item, the sole responsibility and the sole custodian for quality assurance in India is DG AQA.
Yeah, I just want to add, since we are talking of these complex systems, I have a feeling that we should not go overboard in our regulatory mechanisms. Because we are firstly going unmanned and we'll go overboard in a regulatory and the time scales will keep changing, the cost will multiply. So there is a need to really think at the whole concept of regulation needs to change in terms of certification. So we have to use the artificial intelligence and its growth into our own certification. That means if a system is gone through a process and you check it fast through some generative AI or ASI in future, that itself should be 80%, it should be through. So if you are able to design a system in 1 year, a flying system or a weapon, and fly it, you should be able to certify it in 2 months. That is the challenge. So my worry is not lack of regulation, my worry is, we might start getting over-regulated and defeat the entire concept of this. So the whole concept is moving for rapid design, a very dedicated design to the requirements and rapid induction and change of kind of weapons happening. So we have to really refine our, certification agencies to do every action in a much reduced time frame. I would say 1/10 time frame to start with as a target, but it can reduce, immensely. I don't know, you might want to contest this, but I think we have to just change our entire methodology of how we see design and certification.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So my perspective is that there is a requirement for some level of assurance. That's the name of the department in any case. And there is the speed that Chairman talked about. So my assessment is that you basically have to make trustworthy AI or, that kind of a concept. So essentially you have data. So data has got a certain, input space. So you are assured that there is an input space in which the data is authentic. There was the first presentation where you talked about fidelity of data and all that. So we are confident that in this input space, the input-output mapping is correct, it is right, it is trustworthy in that sense. So as far as the AI is learning within those bounds, and it's reproducing that correctly or, even unusual scenarios it's creating in those bounds, I would say it is trustworthy. So I think that should give an assurance to DG AQA that, well, he's SEMLAC, but, idea being that you remain within bounds of the data you have collected and not try to go outside the bounds and extrapolate and predict something for which there is no basis in data. I mean, that's probably the right, I would say, way to look at it and speed up, as you said. Yeah.
No, I think very correctly put. Whatever I was thinking in mind, he put it technically, absolutely correctly. Yeah, please.
No, I'm just saying, sir, the corollary to this is also you will be limiting yourself in terms of a bounded performance. Don't expect your adversary to stick to this. So we'll have to find a solution which is between explainable and unexplainables. So data, while initial baby steps is exactly as you predict, sir, but if we just go on and get onto this compartment of explainability only, your adversary is not going to stick to it. So we'll have to find a way.
I'm glad you bring this point. And I think you need to go to unexplainable very rapidly. This bound and the ethics will last for next 4 or 5 years. Thereafter, it has to go to this thing, but you have to have a human element always. The manned-unmanned teaming will shift to manned being the gatekeeper for the final yes or no, the final lethality of it, and the ethic part of it. So, in terms of ASI, it will have no bounds very soon.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Sir, I am Wing Commander Shailesh Singh from Directorate of Aerospace Design. Sir, we are keep interacting with the industry partners, and they have one basic question, and I wanted to put it up to the rep from NEL and from the SEMLAC, sir. So they had a lot of doubts and a lot of apprehensions towards the progression of the development. Like there are many new IDEX winners which are already have won various programs, and there are various people those who are working towards MUMTI as well. So sir, my question is, so how we can help them in hand-holding and shortening this process so that actually in true sense, we will become a co-partner as a co-developer, not looking as a transactional that they are separate and we are separate. Because if we have to really shorten the loop, and if we have to accelerate the convergence of technology, and we wanted to take the benefit of this time, so that only answer is that we are giving that hand-holding facilitation. So my two question is, sir, how this process can be shortened? The second question is, sir, for this new development and progress, this hand-holding, it can be done. Is there any method in the organization in like Semilac so that directly they can contact and from the milestone 1 itself, they can have a facilitation so they had been guided properly so that they can reach to that desired level at the earliest. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So, the two things Semilac is attempting. One is airworthiness certification plan. Before you start, the designers, the certification agency, and the other stakeholders sit together and they decide that this is what the whole approach in the plan is going to be for certification, and that is known a priori, which means you're not going to get any surprises further down. Once you've come to 80% of the program, you're not going to see some surprises which is going to have some cost and time overruns. That will not happen. Once it is agreed and signed upon, it is followed to the T. So that's number one. Second is, it's ironical, or rather I would say coincidental that you have raised this question, that the parallel hall that is there, Seminar 1 and the Seminar 2 hall, the e-portal is being launched by Semilac, DRDO, again by RRM. And there's a team sitting there and is doing. So the e-portal is nothing but a transparency in the whole dealings, which means all the documents that you are going to give to Semilac, the analysis data will be loaded up online. It's going to come to Semilac, and it's a time-based, very transparent, non-arbitrary approach. So you'll get to know that this is the time within which it has to happen. It's not happening. The alarms are rung at the highest management, and they see a flash coming on their display, and quickly there is down the line percolated to the working level why there's a delay. So you will have that kind of a delay shortening that's happening to this e-portal. It's going to be again non-arbitrary. There are set processes and procedures. You have to click those buttons, what are required and what is to be done. And therefore with this, I feel we can shorten the time, which means, and since we are going to be concurrent with the project, it's not that you do the entire development and then come towards the end and then say we take our own sweet time. It's not going to be. We are going to be with you all through and through, which means we are knowing what's happening. And therefore, as my chief executive said in the last seminar that happened 2 days back, he said that you come to us with the data by lunchtime, and by dinner time you have the certification. So that is what the shortening that we are planning to do.
Yeah, I would say one element which is important for especially any developer is some kind of a test bed or a sandbox, where one part is the theory. Of course, you do lots of simulations, but ultimately you will have to go to some proving ground, right? You will have to actually prove it in the field. So that is where I think the Indian Air Force or DRDO or labs like us who have some of those testing facilities should facilitate or partner with the industry so that they are able to get access to that, because having a facility, return on investment is not possible for industry to do, because they are not supposed to run facility, they are supposed to make products. So that part I think it would be good to have either some of those facilities declared as national facilities and provided at reasonable, just running cost basis rather than being very expensive and all that. That will improve the level of innovation, the amount of innovation and access to some of those very, shall we say, very, very precise facilities, very, very, high quality facilities. That's something I would like to add.
Sir, just a follow-up question, sir. People are also asking, since there are many critical gaps in the technology which can be developed. So all the industry partners are looking towards how this technology gap can be fulfilled, because there are countries, those are making core technology things. And just to avoid that thing and just to make, there is a huge timeline which has been avoided. So is there any timeline which can be prescribed so that till the time this development happened, certain things can be borrowed or something can be offset from the friendly countries or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, in general, partnership, whether it is within the country or outside, is always welcome if it leads to a good outcome, which is acceptable to the end user ultimately. But there is an element of testing involved in the acceptance, both in theory on simulators and also ultimately in the field. So that whole gamut of thing, as was pointed out, requirements have to be captured, have to be frozen ideally so that you don't have creeping requirements coming as the project is going along and then the project timelines just fly away. So those are things which needs to be, well, everybody has to have discipline in terms of sticking to what we commit and say, okay, this is enough, nothing more, nothing less. And then everybody can have the schedule and the cost tied in. Because industry, the problem is if everything starts creeping, they don't have the stamina. They have the speed, but not the stamina to sustain this kind of requirements creep. So we should be clear that if you want the energy of the industry, you want the speed of the industry, you must fix your goalpost. You can't keep changing the goalpost. And then everybody else can work out the cost and have a viable proposal and meet it in the timeline that is committed. Yeah.
Shailesh also already, although you haven't asked me, can I add to the answer? Okay. On handholding and IDEX and Aditi kind of programs, what you mentioned, I think it's very important what you bring out or what industry has told you as problem. And I think the way out is that if there are startups who are looking for a place to work, you get them into your premises, wherever, in whatever manner. Otherwise, you have to get a mechanism where you interact very, very frequently through a project management team or a single person being detailed or two. When I say very frequently, virtually every week or at least once in 2 weeks. So that is the interface required because they've taken the work, half the time they don't understand the real problem. Second issue, when he says milestone complete, your person is already working, intermittently, knows it. The day he says milestone finished, next day his payment should go. At the moment, IDEX milestone or any of these Aditi milestone, payment goes after 6 months. Because there's so much paperwork that the real, guys who are working on this, they can't do it. So the major problem in your, this thing is fund release. So there is hand-holding required in this matter. Third is, while you may be sitting in your offices thinking that you're given IDEX project and it is now you will wait for 1 year and you'll get a product. Many of these companies are no longer working on your products. They are looking to raise money through VCs and all. I've got an IDEX project. I need a 20 crore raise. So you'll be shocked that maybe for 2-3 months there is no work on your project. So it's very important to handhold or interact, firstly for the sake of your project, secondly for the sake of the people that they need to work on it. And many of those people who are working diligently actually they just don't get their payments in time. So half of them, lose track or lose a lot of money because of this. This is just some points from my experience for you to look at. Yeah, anything else?
One question on the same issue. Have we thrown open PSU testing facilities, the DRDO testing facilities to all the entrepreneurs and innovators and the SMSE to test their product?
Before they answer, I will give you my answer. In rule, yes. In practicality, no. But I want you to comment.
Yeah, so I understand the aeronautical test range will become a national facility. It hasn't yet, I understand. But there are people using it. We use it, for example, at a cost, which is probably reasonable for us or we can afford it. But I know, for example, that CSR's costing is not affordable to industry, at least the startups. That is a fact. We are working with our headquarters to say that, how do you decide on what basis you will charge a PSU, on what basis you will charge big industry, what basis you will charge somebody who's innovating but hasn't got really the ability to pay those rates. So there is a challenge there. I have to accept that, yes.
Because that would facilitate a person.
No, the rules are there, sir. In policy, it is already there. But practically, it is uphill task for any startup or a private sector small player to either afford it or to get a slot. And that is the way of DPSUs and DRDO labs to really throttle them, to put it very simply. Yeah, next.
So just want to add on from what he mentioned about the certification process. The other process, which is almost a holy cow, if I may use that word, is our procurement processes. You mentioned that in the third area India from now, we should have these technologies. With our procurement processes being what they are, without any reform and speeding up that process, do you think really is that possible, sir?
No, so change. This is the result of this seminar, that you need to change and work out very, very flexible process to do innovative research into this. And for research, it should be absolutely left to the services up to a certain budget. You should change it. The time has come. We are already late.
Just to add, the TAP is being reviewed, and the current DevSec has, I think, announced it in many forums. He's open to any fresh ideas, so we are compiling, definitely.
And in that, you should get a lot of authority to the service to do these kind of, research-oriented and innovative projects. That's the only way you can do it rapidly. And you have to launch 2-3 parallelly. One will not give you the result. That's just another point. Yeah. I think he wants to close it. Any other important question? Yeah, please.
Myself, Karthik from Drone Tech. I'm happy with the e-portal launched by the Semilac, because the startups with Semilac, there's a lot of big gap. We mailed it. Okay, you want me to slow? Okay, I'm very happy with Semilac launching an e-portal, so that industry startups can directly interact with the Semilac and get the updates. Secondly, I would like to have other questions, like, see, in Europe, we have a ESA standard. America, we have a FAST standard. Is there any standards fixed by the Semilac for the airworthiness for the designs? Before making a design, we can go through the standards. We'll know the limitations. This is what FAA and ESA certification standards says that. Is there any standards?
See, the standards are defined at the requirement stage. Okay. So a user would say that I would like to follow a MIL standard or a DEF standard. DEF standard is the UK, MIL standard is the US. They're all time-tested, proven guideline document which have been evolved over, over a century. That's what I would say. And these guidelines have proven good in our projects as well, and therefore we continue to follow them. But if there are certain requirements in the standards are missing, then with discussions with the user who wants it and the developer who's willing to develop and the certification agency, mutually it's agreed upon that in this we only take it as a guideline, and here we've got some expertise and legacy information. So with this we can go. So that to that extent the standards can be tailored to the requirement. There's nothing like a hard and fast rule. So in India, we have not developed our own standards, just to answer that very quickly. So we are following standards that have been already in vogue by other countries. Like you said, FAA, the FARs are for the civil, EASAs again for civil, what they do. Then, but the MRs, European Military Awareness Regulations, the, you said military standard, DEF standard, they're all basically the foreign standards which we use. Yeah.
I think we can't take any more questions. We'll wind up now, sir.
Okay, so with that, with your permission, Deputy Chief, we'll wind up. And thank you very much for the question answered, and for, again, thanks to all the speakers for really taking interest and putting this, highly complex topic into very simple words. Thank you.
May I now request Vice Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal S.P. Dharkar, to please honor our esteemed panelists by presenting the mementos in the same order as that of panel discussion. I also request all the panelists to kindly accept the token of appreciation, please. Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhaduria, retired. Thank you, sir, for chairing the discussion. Air Vice Marshal A.K. Wahi, Thank you, sir, for presenting the user perspective in MUMT. Dr. Abhay Anant Pashilkar. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us on technical challenges and trends on the subject. Dr. M. Peter Arun. Thank you, sir, for providing guidance on certification and qualification roadmap for MUMT. Squadron Leader Samir Joshi, retired. Thank you, sir, for shedding light on the industry perspective.
Now, on behalf of all present here, a heartfelt thanks to all our esteemed panelists for diving deep on the futuristic technology of MUMT and presenting a complete roadmap to achieving this capability, starting from user perspective to challenges, certification requirements, and capability of Indian industry. I'm sure the discussion and question and answer session has clarified many doubts of the audience. I also thank all the participants for sparing time and being part of this wonderful seminar. Thank you all. Jai Hind.
Check 1, 2, 3.